In a private meeting with House Republicans on Tuesday morning, Speaker Kevin McCarthy begged them to support his debt ceiling proposal, telling them that even though it didn't have to include everything they wanted, it would still help him get to the negotiating table with President Joe Biden. The idea that leadership used the GOP-only plan as purely a way to strengthen their hand at the negotiating table is highlighted by McCarthy's remark to members that once he is at the table, he can push for other policy provisions down the road. Leading House Republicans are expressing confidence in their ability to unify the conference behind a plan and move swiftly to pass it. But it's not certain at all. Some members are upset with the proposal as it stands and over elements that have not been included because key details of the plan have not yet been finalized. Tom Cole, the chairman of the House Rules Committee, told CNN that the GOP debt limit bill would be debated on the House floor the following week. However, other House Republicans have expressed doubt about whether the proposal specifics can be worked out in time for a vote to take place that soon, and the deadline may be extended. The White House contends that the debt limit should be raised unconditionally, in contrast to House Republicans who insist that any increase in the limit must be accompanied by spending reductions. Even though the bill won't pass the Democratic-controlled Senate, McCarthy wants to move a debt limit bill through the House to put pressure on the White House to participate in negotiations. The behind-closed-doors meeting marks the beginning of a challenging campaign by GOP leaders to secure 218 votes in support of a plan to raise the debt ceiling and cut federal spending. McCarthy walked members through his plan, which calls for recovering unused COVID-19 funds, putting 10-year spending caps in place, stopping Biden from forgiving student loans, and passing a GOP energy bill. Conservatives are pushing for more inclusion, and some have declared they won't support a debt ceiling increase at all costs, showing how difficult it will be for GOP leaders to get the conference to support a plan. House Freedom Caucus leader and Republican Representative Scott Perry expressed displeasure with the lack of specificity in the House GOP's plan to raise the debt ceiling and reduce spending. Perry told reporters, "I don't know what's in the package completely, and that's the problem. I am aware of what was displayed on the screen, but I don't believe it to be the whole story." In addition, Perry expressed his disagreement with the GOP leadership's strategy of attempting to pass something now in order to meet with Democrats for negotiations and then demanding more later. During the conference meeting held behind closed doors, Perry was one of several participants who spoke up in favor of more cuts. Republican Study Committee Chairman Rep. Kevin Hearn told CNN that unless Republicans unite behind a single debt ceiling proposal, they will have a much weaker negotiating position in any future talks with the White House. The topic is leadership. "We have a problem if we can't lead," Hearn said. GOP Representative Don Bacon stated that they are still debating whether to raise the debt ceiling by a dollar amount or to a specific date, as well as how long to do so. A shorter increase is being pushed for by some members, but Bacon said it will probably wait until the following year. Additionally, he acknowledged that some lawmakers are still pushing for the inclusion of additional spending cuts and repeals. However, according to Bacon, his fellow 18 Republicans from Biden districts will support it. Rep. Matt Gaetz of Florida stated that although the debt ceiling conference talks were getting closer, there were still issues that needed to be resolved. He stated that he is unsure whether a vote on the budget agreement can occur as soon as next week. "I think a lot of that depends on how these discussions go today, tomorrow, and the following day," he said. Even though he said he would be very surprised if the bill text was made public today, he said, "I think there are a number of really critical details that we've still got to work out before making a final decision on a vote." According to a source in the room, members of the House Freedom Caucus, including Reps. Perry, Chip Roy, and Andrew Clyde, pushed leadership to explain why certain provisions weren't included and called for additional budget cuts. Even though leaders have marketed this as a chance to increase their leverage with the White House, it just goes to show how difficult this will be for them. Why a few items were left out of the debt ceiling framework was one of the topics covered during the GOP conference meeting. Conservatives, for instance, are upset that a provision that would claw back Internal Revenue Service enforcement funds was left out. The Congressional Budget Office would rate it as expensive, and without enforcement funds, the CBO would claim that less tax revenue would be collected. However, a source in the room tells CNN that the reason it isn't included is because it would be expensive. In this bill, Republicans are attempting to cut spending and raise as much money as they can.